Welcome, welcome to my newest neighbor, Spencer. I'm so excited to not just have you on the show, but have you literally a mile down the street.
Yay. I know. I love it. Feels so good.
I
Love
know,
being here too.
I know. We just need to get a dance class in together.
I told Rick, I got my package waiting. I just was
Oh,
too
you
late.
did?
I bought my slots. When I went to schedule, they were all filled up.
I know. That's the
So
power of social media, right?
amazing. I'm so excited for him,
I
but
know.
I'm
It's
even more
crazy.
excited to get in there.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, tell everybody what you do, who you help, how you help them. Give us a little juice.
Yeah, so I am currently a teacher mentor. So I'm a former teacher and went through good old teacher burnout. And 2021, I left education and started really going all in on how do I help teachers with what I went through
Yeah.
using social media to do all of that. And really my goal is to truly help them, yes, avoid burnout, but really just prioritize themselves and not lose themselves, because that's what I believe is fueling so much of the burnout.
Yeah.
And that's in a nutshell. We work on boundaries, we talk about mastering our mindset and emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Our identity is a huge one, and that's one I'm really starting to lean more into, because in my experience with my clients, that is really what's moving them. So behind the scenes, I'm doing my own learning on that. And yeah, it's cool just watching it continue to evolve and build, and my skills as a coach getting, increasing and enhancing. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. As a former teacher myself, there's like just an instant connection, instant bond when I have to someone when they come to me and they want to work together and they are a teacher or they're a former teacher. I get really excited because I really deeply believe that teachers oftentimes make the best coaches. And I'm not saying you have to be a teacher to be a great coach, but there are a couple things that I believe you have as superpowers. And I know working with you for a year, we were together for about a year, all of 2022.
mhm.
Um, you have these superpowers. And so what I see that as is you're really good at making difficult concepts easy to understand. You're really good at reading the room and quickly seeing like, oh my gosh, this person isn't getting it. Let me try a different way of teaching it. Let me try a different type of teaching style. Let me throw a different analogy in and like thinking on your feet. You're very good at managing the room, whether it's managing energy, managing expectations, managing, are they paying attention still? Right. And then my favorite thing about you is your way and your ability to create curriculum. And you just do it so effortlessly. And I believe that that is one of my superpowers as well. And it's really, really, really important when it comes to building out coaching programs and courses and ebooks. What would you say to the person who's listening, who's like, oh, that's nice. Must be nice for Spencer. I am not a teacher. I am not good at those things. I don't know how to build a curriculum. Do you think that something like that could be taught?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. To be honest, when I started doing this, it may be because some of it might have come naturally, but I never really made the connection like, wow, my teaching experience is really helping me with this right now, because there was so much I still had to learn. Because while there are a lot of similarities, so I love messing around in Canva and creating presentations and figuring out how can I have this build off this, like what activity can I have them do that's going to really be in alignment with what I want them to learn here. Um, it was almost like a brand new world, because one, I'm teaching adults instead of kids.
So different.
Yeah, it is so different,
So
and it really
different.
is. And it's harder in a way.
Mhm.
But also the way I'm teaching, I had no curriculum to go off of other than the one I'm creating, and putting it in a video portal, like all of that stuff was brand new. And
Yeah.
honestly, I learned how to do that in Empower. So teacher or not, I think that when you have like, there's so many tangible things that go into creating a course, that I think anyone can do it. It's more just like, you know, I think believing in what you're teaching. And I think
Mhm.
teachers even struggle with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so teacher or not, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a framework, right? And when you're given that sort of
Yeah.
skeleton to plug into, you can plug anything into it, which is why in Empower, we work with every niche. Like we've worked with over 150 different niches or industries, from real estate to dog training to dog grooming to somatic breath work to relationship coaches to teachers teaching teachers to, fitness professionals, because it's just a framework that you're sort of plugging into. So I love that. And I love that you're now seeing and connecting the dots that it is one of your superpowers, because you're really incredible at it. And I
Thanks,
love
Jess.
watching you do it. And I know the impact that you're making, especially for teachers. And being a former teacher, one of the things that I struggled with when I was a teacher was a lot of the mindset stuff. So limiting beliefs that, is it possible that I could do something different? Is it possible that I can make a bigger impact outside the classroom? A huge one for me was money. And I know I can speak to it, not generally, because I can't speak for everybody, but in my experience, 8 years as a teacher, pretty much everybody I worked with struggled with their money mindset, meaning the district told you that you're going to make X amount of dollars. And no matter how great you were as a teacher and how great your bulletin boards were and how many hours after school you stayed to work on your lesson plans, that was your cap. Like that was the amount of money you were going to make, period, end of story. And there are no bonuses. There's no negotiating a different salary. And so newsflash, teachers don't get paid that much money, certainly not for what they're doing. And so I know for me, for years, it was a limiting belief. And I held off going to Tony Robbins events until I actually had quit teaching and jumped into entrepreneurship, which made no sense because then I had no money coming in. But it was like I waited, or I was always saving. And I felt like I had no money. I'm so curious, when it came to investing in yourself, did you ever come up against these beliefs? And then when you're working with and enrolling teachers into your program, is money something that is coming up often as an objection?
Yeah, well, money is the number one objection I get. But for me personally, in my experience, so when I first started investing in myself, I was a teacher. I was working with someone outside of the school, a therapist who was helping me. I mean, yes, I had insurance, but it still wasn't awesome. Like I had to pay a lot considering what I was used to paying when it came to myself, which was pretty much nothing. I was in so much pain though, that I moved. Of course I had, objections in my head, and I was nervous, and I had to cut some things out of my budget to afford this, but it wasn't even like I saw no other way.
Yeah.
And I was excited about it. But fast forward to, I was still in education. I was instructional coaching now, which is same salary as a teacher. So not a lot of money. But that was when I decided I want to help people in a different way, which is what I'm doing now, but I had no clue how to do it. So I invested in a social media course, which was a live mentorship course, and then also a mentor. And both of those things were a lot of money. So yeah, I had a lot of that coming up for me. What helps me the most, and this is something that I help some teachers do when they ask for it, I don't say to myself anymore, I can't afford this. Even if I can't, like, even if I literally don't have the cash.
Yeah. Words have power.
It's what could I do, or what might I have to do to be able to afford this?
I love that.
In order to make it possible for me to afford that. And that's what I had to do when I invested in Empower last year.
Well, what's interesting though, Empower was not your first investment in terms of entrepreneurship and business coaching. So I'm curious to even go there for a second, because you sort of got over the hurdle and the hump of, it's not that I can't afford it, it's better, how can I afford it, right? How can I make this work? Which I love that reframe of question. So you do it once, you do it twice, maybe 3 times. I'm not sure how many people you were with before you came to us, but you do it a couple times. You even launch your own program, and then you decide to invest in Empower. Can you bridge the gap for me there? Because I feel like so many people would kind of have an ego and say, well, I already know this. I've already taken a course. I've already invested the money. And whether or not you made that money back, your ROI or return on investment or not, a lot of people are like, well, if I didn't, or my business isn't where I want it to be, there's no way that I'm going to invest in another program because I didn't get fixed in the first one, or it didn't yield the result that I wanted. So can you bridge the gap for, how did you come to like, oh, I'm just going to invest more money?
Yeah. So, what was last year? 2022.
Yeah.
So the year before that was 21. I was working with a mentor. She's a nurse mentor, and love her. She helped me so much because, and what I saw in her was what I wanted to do. She does this for nurses. I want to do this for teachers. Please show me how to do this kind of thing.
Is this Kat?
Yeah.
Shout out to Kat Golden.
Yeah.
I know her from a mastermind from like 2018.
She's so good.
She's the best.
She really helped me. And so, I was working with her almost that whole year. And then January 2022 was when I had my silent launch. And I had worked with her so long at that point. I had been on such a personal development journey that I was able to see that as, rather than an ego hit and also of course it's an ego hit, but not to the point where it might have been 2 years before. And instead of seeing it as like, I suck, like nothing works.
Yeah. Wait, I'm just going to pause you for 1 second. So anyone listening who doesn't know what a silent launch is, that's a terminology that we throw around in the industry. It basically means Spencer launched a program or a product or a course or an ebook or whatever it was, and no one purchased it. So when no one enrolls or no one purchases and you make $0, we call it a silent launch. And that takes most coaches and entrepreneurs out. Like it just wipes them out and they quit. But go ahead.
Yeah. And before that, I should say I had ran 3 rounds at that point of teachers. So I had 3, they weren't huge at all, but I had 3 groups of teachers. And then come the 4th one, no one. And so
Which is arguably even worse than having a silent launch on your first try, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, what happened? Like I had 3 rounds that worked and now this one didn't work. And I'm saying work in quotes. And so that really could take somebody out. So continue.
Yeah. And I just looked at it as like, okay, I'm missing something. Like in this, what can I do differently? I looked at it that way. Thankfully, I wasn't perfect at it. I had moments where I was like not happy about what had happened. That's when I decided like, I'm just going to pour everything into just like serving and giving content. And I like went kind of crazy with the content. I had nothing to sell at that point. I was like, I'm just going to spend months just like building this community and And I was following you already at the time and learning from you, you know, quietly behind the scenes, watching all your content. And then I went to, when was that? March or April? I went to Tony Robbins' UPW.
Oh, amazing.
Because of that. And because I was like, where am I blocked? Like, And then right after that, you had launched E+mpower.
Yeah.
And so I was just already in this momentum of like, I'm going to make this work. And then I had just made that crazy investment in myself with Tony. And I obviously learned so much from him.
Yeah.
Regarding what I'm about to say next. But when you launched E+mpower, it was like here it is, you know, like this is your next level. Like this is an opportunity. It's like literally in your face. And it was a yes, 100%, but it wasn't a full yes at first because it was $5,000.
Right.
And that to me was like 5 times I had ever invested in myself, really. At least in one time. Yeah. Yeah. And so it took a second, but again, I went back to like, what do I have to do to be able to afford this? And thankfully Tim's always on board. So that was awesome. There was no resistance there. He's just like, just do it. Like it's gonna, you know, there's gonna be a huge ROI there.
Yeah.
And,
we loved him.
Yeah, we loved him. He's a cheerleader for sure. So like it was just me. But it really wasn't hard because when I can use that reframe, and I use it for other things in life now too. I use it for when I did Beyond Six Figures. Yeah. But it's like, what can I do to be able to afford this? And that's where my creative thinking comes in. That's where the problem solving comes in. And that's where it was like, oh, well, duh. Like we're going to cool. Like, let's do it.
I love that you said problem solving and creative thinking because entrepreneurs, so if you're listening to this and you are a solopreneur, or you're an aspiring entrepreneur, our job quite literally is to solve problems. Like if we don't have problems, then we don't have a business. We're supposed to be solving problems for ourselves and other people. So I love that you're looking at it from the lens of, okay, this is just a new hurdle. It's just a new challenge. It's just something for me to get creative and think outside the box. And I loved him and I love that he's supportive, but not everybody has a partner or a spouse or a significant other or even a friend that is
Right.
supportive. I feel like in the entrepreneurial world, it's usually the opposite actually, where it's not that people are haters, but I experience this all the time from people in my past life. I'll say like, my old life where I was a teacher or like living back in New Jersey, my high school friends, my college friends when Mike was commuting to work. And people still till this day, we're running this big company together with this big team and people will kind of say things like, how's your cute side hustle? And I'm like, oh, you're so confused. Like that's not what it is. So what would you say to the person who's listening who doesn't have a Tim who is a cheerleader, but rather someone who's like, what are you doing? Why are you even bothering? That's so silly.
Mm.
You're like, you're 40. Why are you on Instagram?
Ooh, what would I say to the person whose partner is that way,
Yeah,
or
and
support system is
they
that way?
want like they have the invitation, the opportunities there. They want to take the leap, but the people around them don't fully support it or get it yet.
Ooh, Jess, I don't know. I haven't been in that situation yet. I am in the situation a lot where they'll tell me, I need to go talk to my partner about this. And
Mhm.
in that case, I'm like, please do. Like, I encourage that. One, I value open communication. And two, if they can get on board and support, you're going to show up even more for yourself.
Mhm.
And so I have been in that situation. But as far as my so and so doesn't support me, or gosh, I don't know. I mean, if it were like my client, like they were already my client,
Yeah.
of course, like my energy is like you, you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, no one else might. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's some of our journeys. Like some of us like have nobody believing in us, and it's we either go and believe them or we believe ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I really believe it comes down to just that self-empowerment, like owning that agency that you have to know to exercise what's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
yeah,
I would say, it's really important, whether it's a friend, a partner, a spouse, a roommate, to let the person know, like have just a neutral conversation about how and why this thing is so important to you and sort of help them see the value, but meet them where they're at. And it's never about trying to force or convince or push someone. It's just meeting them where they're at. I would never encourage it to turn into like a giant fight or a divorce or a separation. But at the same time, I do believe it's all the more reason to get in the room because the
hmm,
people in the room are the ones who sort of quote unquote get it. When you're in the room
so
with
true.
like-minded people, it's like, okay, so the people in your life right now aren't necessarily supportive or they don't get it yet. But when you get in the room, you're paying to be around the people who do get it, who do want to have those conversations. And there's the be do have model of who do you want to be and how are you going to show up. And so when you start to be that person and you do the thing like invest in yourself and you have the conversations that are expansive, sometimes the people in your life will actually start to come along afterwards, right? And so you get to be the
100%.
leader and you get to show up as the person who's taking the scary step and doing the big thing. And over time, other people will start to maybe ask why. And we've all seen the memes. It's like first they ask you why and then they ask you how. But really, it's like, I remember so many times in my experience with my business and personal development with Mike, he wasn't right there at the moment with me when I was doing it, but then it was kind of like, oh, it's like children. They're like sponges. And so all of a sudden it's like, well, they see you acting this way and they're going to start acting this way. So I think meeting them where they're at is really important. So what's one last thing that you would say to someone who is on the fence about making a leap, not just in Empower, but making the leap to do something scary, invest in themselves, or kind of trying to get over their own objections that are coming up?
I think it's all about giving yourself grace in that moment, but recognizing that you're scared to do this thing, and just knowing that what you want is on the other side of that scary thing. And for me, when I went to invest in Empower, I had already done it a few times. So
Yeah.
investing in Empower was a little scary financially, but it wasn't as scary as the first time. But every single time I do it, it becomes just like with anything. We flex that muscle, it becomes more comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's just remember, I always remind myself what I want is on the other side of this.
Mhm. I
And
love
it's,
that.
yeah.
And you just
And
did it in your life too. You guys just moved across the country. It's
I did.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
know.
It's
I
so
know.
cool. I'm so
Thank
excited for
you.
you. All right. Where can people find you? Because I can talk to you all day. Where can people find you? How can they follow you? How can they work with you? What do you got for us?
So I'm mainly on Instagram. So you can follow me at _SpencerMegan. And I also have a website, so spencermegan.com. And that is where teachers can go to sign up for the Next Level Teacher waitlist, which will be launching in later this spring. So I'm super excited for that. And my Instagram, I have a ton of free resources in my link and on my website. So those are the two main places that they can find me at.
I love it. And you are one of my favorite people to follow when it comes to content. You're putting out so much gold all the time, just so many juicy nuggets around
Thank you,
boundaries.
Jess.
And yeah, I just love it. It's so good. So definitely go give it a follow. Last question for you before we go. It's our signature question. I feel like I should ask a different signature question. I'm going to. So we have two signature questions. I'm going to ask you the $50,000 question. So if I were to cut you a check tomorrow for $50,000 and you had to use it in or on your business, you could split it up. You could use it however you want. What would you do with it?
In or on my business?
Mm-hmm.
Man, Jess, you always give me questions I haven't thought about ever. The first thing that came to mind was my clients. I don't know what that means, though. I don't know what that means. I really would like to hire and get myself some help here so I can start helping more clients. Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably be that, because teachers need a lot of help. And I know what's coming up for me soon is I need more help to help more teachers.
Yeah.
I think that's where we would go with that.
I love it. Well, we just put it out into the universe. So we're manifesting some new hires, or some hires, I should say, in 2023. I can't wait to see what that looks like. I love you. I adore you. I'm so grateful for you. And it's crazy to think that it was like almost a year ago that you came into my life and Empower, and then we got to work together again after that. So I am just super grateful, and I get to see you tomorrow in person, which is so fun.
So excited for it.
All right, my friends, if you love this episode and you had a little aha moment, a takeaway, something that just struck a chord, make sure you take a screenshot, tag Spencer and I on Instagram at _SpencerMegan. That is no H in Megan. So _SpencerMegan, tag me at I am Jessica DeRose. And as always, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.